Hello, all of my hockey-loving friends out there on YouTube. Welcome to Prosper Hockey This Week, the first inaugural edition of the show, where we hope to go into details, highlights, interests, and show exactly how our Prosper High School hockey kids are playing and succeeding both on the ice and in the classroom, as well as out in the community. So with this first edition, let's get started. First up, just for those of you that just ended up at the wonderful link to this video from the search AI monsters at Google, let's do a quick review. Prosper Hockey plays within the AT&T Metroplex League. It's a league that's supported and was created when the Dallas Stars moved to the Dallas Metroplex many years ago. In fact, this coming fall season will be the 25th anniversary of the start of this league, which is interesting considering it started with about 4 teams and 8 games. Now we have over 26 different schools fielding almost 50 different teams at JV and varsity levels. Teams are created within a school district generally. There are 2 types, pure and blended. Pure means that all the players come from the same school. Blended means that you pool a bunch of schools together and have them form a team as one. Prosper is a blended school. We have both players from Rock Hill High School and the original Prosper High School, as well as Salina as well, given that they're within our area. So eligibility, student athletes have to be at least 13 years old, either going into or already are in 8th grade. The reason for the start before high school is so that kids can get used to the game at the high school level, specifically around checking and body contact, which has been eliminated for most of the lower levels in USA Hockey rules. Teams are co-ed. There are specialized high school teams for all women only or all girls only, but in general all of the high school teams can be co-ed. In fact, you'll see quite a few female athletes across the board, and within Prosper itself we have 2 or 3 female athletes competing at both the JV and varsity levels. Although we're not part of the overall University Interscholastic League, which is the main league that most of the high schools here in North Texas work under. We're considered a club team, so we're loosely affiliated with the school, although all of our student athletes have to abide by the eligibility and no pass, no play rules that are instituted by the UIL. As I mentioned before, you can be in 8th grade or going into 8th grade if it's spring hockey and play. Generally, 8, 9, and 10 graders, 8th, 9th, and 10th graders are eligible to play JV. And then 9th, 10th, and 11th, and 12th graders can play varsity, although once you get to your junior year, grade 10, you have to play varsity. You no longer eligible to play JV. And the main reason for this is to keep larger, bigger, stronger kids from playing with younger, smaller kids that are just getting used to the game. The seasons. This is actually the beginning of our new hockey year, of the 2021-2022 hockey season. It starts with the Spring Summer League. It's a league designed to get kids used to playing high school hockey. So we'll play 10 games between May and middle of July with a championship round at the end, just to get those new kids that are interested in playing high school hockey some ice time. The differences between spring and in the fall league is that in the fall, all the teams are tiered. This is somewhat similar to the football teams and basketball teams that get graded based on the school size, where there's 4A and 5A. In hockey, it's different. Every team is re-leveled each year. So the idea is that if your team happens to be a little weaker this year or very young, you'll get tiered into a lower division so that you're playing with similar competition. If you're older and more experienced, then you'll probably play in a higher division. The idea here is that we want teams to compete and feel successful in competing rather than playing against a team that's made up of mostly seniors that have been playing for 5 or 6 years and then constantly getting beaten 8-1. As an old coach mentioned to me, he says, no one learns anything either from winning 8-0 or losing 8-0. It's just a game. And that's not what the league's about. The league's about getting development and helping kids move on to bigger and better things as they move through their hockey career. So, that's the spring seasons, 10 games. The fall seasons from September to generally February, 18 games or so plus playoffs. And then for varsity, there's also the state tournament that happens sometime between January and February. So just some notes about Prosper itself. We've been playing since the 2015-2016 season. Myself and my family and my son who plays for Prosper, we came in 3 years ago now, or coming up on our 3rd year this fall. And it's amazing to see the growth. There were years where they barely scraped, the Prosper club barely scraped a varsity team or a JV team. And then they kind of met that threshold and grew to the point where they could get generally 2 players on the ice at the same time, or 2 teams, on the ice at the same time. Now, with this last spring session, we had over 68 interested student athletes from not just only Prosper, but some of the surrounding areas, as assigned by the league. There is the concept of free agents, so that you can, if you live in a school district that doesn't have a hockey team and you're interested in playing, you can still get assigned to a team and then play for that school. So this spring we had 68 for 60 slots. So this is the first time ever Prosper's had been in the position to either cut or decline players to come play in our system. Our home rink is the Children's Health Center, Star Center in McKinney. And like I said, we're on track now given our growth rate, and we're kind of just going right in lockstep with the Prosper ISD, where we're looking at growing to the point of having 4 teams, possibly either this fall or definitely probably by next spring, which is phenomenal. It's just amazing to see the growth of the team as well as the competition level. Currently Prosper, the JV team, is back-to-back city champions. The first ever championship was won in the previous season, 2019 to 2020. This year, the 2021, gotta get that right, team went, not only did they win the championship, but they had the perfect season. They went 18-0 in the regular season, and then, of course, won through the playoffs to achieve our first back-to-back championships. So we're really looking forward as the compete level and the skill level gets developed in our JV programs, and how those athletes move up into the varsity level. So that's a quick recap, or just kind of quick intro of who we are as Prosper. So let's go ahead and move on to the program and take a look and see what else is going on this week. So this 2 weeks ago, we had our first Coaches Gate / tryouts for the spring-summer season. As I mentioned earlier in my little rambling Prosper hockey history section, we had over 68 skaters, which is a phenomenal number. That's a record for Prosper, which made it really difficult for Coach Yev and the rest of the coaching staff to pick out players and see where things stood as far as assignments and the ability to pick up some players that we really, really like, as well as develop some brand new kids that are new to the program, either new to the area at both the JV and varsity levels, or just new in general. As I mentioned also in the little preview section, We're allowed to have kids that are 13 years old and currently in 7th grade going into 8th grade. So this is basically your 08 birth years in general. So we had a ton of response from kids brand new to the program, which is, again, phenomenal, right? The more we can fill up the lower levels with student athletes, the more competitive our varsity team gets later in the cycle. So the priors were done. Coaches announced the 3 teams that we're going to field for the spring summer. Basically a varsity team and then 2 JV teams that will balance equally. I'll just see up the screen there the names and the team assignments for each of those. And we look forward to seeing how these student athletes develop this summer, and then again in tryouts in early July, June, to then start building up our program for the fall. So let's go ahead and get into the highlights. First up, we'll have varsity, who was on the road playing Frisco. There's a battle for the puck along the boards. Prosper can get it out. Gets back to the blue line. Shot! And Toby snags it right out of the air. A minute to go into the power play. Puck's behind the net. Connor's there. Fight for it. Frisco gets a hold of it. Turning around. Clearing attempt back to the point. Claypool's there. Intercepts. Shot on net. Rebound. Shot. Score! Connor Kirby puts it in for the first of the season on the power play. This puck at the blue line. Maddox is on it. He's driving in all alone in the net. Shot, score! He puts it in for his first of the season as well. Welcome back, Maddox. Constantino's driving over the blue line. He's moving into the net. Up front, shot, rebound. Hobson makes the save. Finally moves down low. Passes to Sawyer behind the net. Sawyer gets off the pass to the slot. Fernandez scores! His first of the season. Prosper wins the match 5-3 over Frisco Red. I'm sure Coach Yev was happy with the outcome and the effort, but probably is looking for a little bit more synergy across all of the lines up and down. It's the first game with a lot of new faces, so that's to be expected. We look forward to seeing what happens next week. Next up, we have JV Green playing Highland. JV Green was home. Overall, this was a bit of a sloppy game. There was a lot of penalties, some ticky-tack, some kind of just rust. In the end, the good news is that Prosper Green's special teams scored 4 power play goals and 3 shorthanded goals. So obviously the special teams work is really doing well. I'm sure they're looking forward to, Coach Casey specifically looking forward at reducing some of the penalties on our side and continue to take advantage of the other team's mistakes when they've got an extra one in the box. Prosper wins 9-5 over Highland Park. A pretty good effort again. A little bit of rust there with the penalties. I'm sure Coach Casey will be working with the team to correct those and then move on and play next week. Our last highlight comes from Prosper White playing Jesuit. This was your classic back and forth affair, low scoring, a lot of defense, and a lot of new faces. Prosper White and Green both have 8 or 9 brand new kids to the program, so some of those are already contributing and others are still working into the lineups. But in general, you gotta like it when you get a W in the first game out. All the scores were even strength. There was only 1 penalty, and that was on Jesuit. So a nice disciplined hockey game. So congratulations to Coach Pat and Coach PJ, and we look forward to how they do coming out next week. Prosper White wins the game 3-2. Again, this was a pretty good effort given that there were so many new kids in the program in both JV teams this year. I know they're happy with the effort, and we look forward to seeing how they get better in the future. Also, for JV White and JV Green, we don't have the 3 stars of the game. We'll be working on getting those going forward, as well as recognizing the winners from the first week once we get them reported, so that at the end of the month review we can make sure we call them out. So some Prosper news, late breaking. We have 4 Prosper players made Team Texas, the high school All-Stars team. Now normally this team would go play in a high school showcase up north, but unfortunately due to COVID that showcase has been canceled. So however, the high school teams will be having a All-Star game this weekend at Co-America. Check the schedule for the latest times and updates. So we're looking forward to that. The 4 players that made the team in last name alphabetical order is Fisher Nauman, Riley Price, Jackson Stubblefield, and Brendan Zeiss. Nauman, Zeiss, and Jackson are 3 of our seniors that are graduating this year, and then Riley Price is currently a junior and looking to be one of our senior leaders on the squad next year. So the last bit of news is really the schedule for this upcoming weekend. All games are being played on May 16th, this Sunday. First up, Frisco. Frisco White will be playing Prosper. Prosper will be on the road at Co-America Center at 5:15. JV Green will be at home against Allen, playing at the McKinney Star Center at 3:30. And then JV White, also against Allen, the other Allen team, Allen Red, will also play at the McKinney Star Center. And the good news is those back-to-back, so that's a twofer. You can go see one game and stay for a second. So, ladies and gentlemen, it comes to the end of our first episode. I know it was a long one. I know I've also made a lot of mistakes. It's our first one. I'm trying. I look forward to getting your comments down below, and then seeing you next week. Hopefully we're going to get these out a little sooner. On Wednesdays is the target, so that you're prepared for the weekend coming up. We're also looking at doing some highlights and some other special episodes with interviews and so forth. So by all means, if you have some feedback, leave it for me. If you have interest or you have questions, by all means, go ahead and send that to 3 stars. That's the number 3, STARS at prospericehockey.com. In the immortal words of Red Green, keep your stick on the ice, and we'll see you next week.